All right, guys, good morning and welcome back. All right, so now in today's video, I want to briefly welcome us to this topic. I want to handle trouser. So I really want to start from scratch to lay some emphasis before we proceed to the proper drafting. Now, most of us, when we hear trouser, we get scared. We start to panic, we start to fidget, we start to have issues between ourselves, and that will affect our work directly or indirectly. So now I want to give you this solid knowledge or background knowledge that you will use to handle whatever trouser you want to make. Now, to start with, now here on the board, already trouser, right? Now, first thing you need to know or ask yourself is what are the areas of measurement? What are you going to know about trouser making? Now, first thing you need to know is where and where to measure. And the first place you need to measure, one, the waist, right? Now, followed by two, the hips. Now, three, the laps. Four, the knee. Five, the ankle. And six, trouser length. Trouser length, right? So these are the areas you measure. Now, in some cases, you can measure the calf. If you have a customer that seems to have a bigger calf from the person's measurement. Now, having known the area to measure, now the next thing you need to know as well is to know where and where to divide. Now, you must know how to divide these values before you proceed. And one of the simplest ways I do this, I have a table I use. You have 2 and you have 4 and you have K or constant, right? Then divide this table in this form. Now, I want to fill in these areas. The values you divide by 2. Now, for the first value of 2, you have the laps by 2, and then you have the ankle by 2, right? And you have the knee by 2. So these are the areas you divide by 2. Then for the 4, you have the waist, you have the hips by 4. Then for the constant means the ones that doesn't need any division, then you divide the trouser length. There's no division, right? Trouser length. Then in the case of the calf, you have the calf as well by 2, right? So these are the areas you must divide with 2, and then the areas that doesn't need any division or whatsoever. Now, having known that, now the next thing is, after division, what are the formulas that you might encounter? What are the possible formulas that you'll be needing in your subsequent markings, right? So now, I can clean this now. So now, the formulas we need is 1. Before we go to the formulas, first and foremost, have what the conventional rule or the conventional values. Now, we have a value of 7, 11, 21. Now, these values on the board there are the values which states that 7 inches is for pockets, right? 11 for crouch, and then 21 for knee. Now, these are the constant values you have. Now, these values is best used for those people that do ready to wear, that's already made, right? Now, because they don't make for individual customers, they just sew for people, and people patronize them, and whichever one that enters you, you take, and then if you didn't enter you, you now go and do some adjustments or some alterations. Now, having said that, now the next thing as well, you need to know that since you're a bespoke tailor means somebody that sews for individual customers on a daily, on a regular basis. So you don't need to base your calculations or divisions or your markings or your draftings from these constants. You are meant to derive them for individual customers. Now, the most important one we derive here is the crouch, right? So let's now go over to the formula to derive your crouch. Now, your crouch can be gotten by one method by measurement, that you have to measure your customer's crouch, right? You measure. Then number two, by quarter length of trouser, quarter of trouser length, right? And then number three, upright sitting position, upright sitting position, right? Upright sitting position. And then number four, hips measurements of your customer divided by 4. Now, these are the possible formulas that we'll be using in deriving or getting our crouch. So now, all these formulas are good. Now, the reason I want to let you know about them is should in case you happen to stumble upon any of them, you won't be confused or carried away by any of the formulas, right? So having said that, let me now tell us the one we're going to use for this our particular illustrations. Now, don't forget, I have Telegram paid classes, I have a YouTube channel. YouTube channel where I post my free videos. If you want to learn more on fashion designing, you can message me on my number, and then we get to the Telegram group, and then I add you up to the groups. I have different groups on beginners level, intermediate, and advanced. Now, don't also forget to click on the subscribe button on my channel for you to be notified whenever I post or make new videos. Now, having said that, we are going to work with number 4 as our formula in this particular trouser making. So I will now clean the rest. Now, talking about the number 4 measurement, the number 4 formula. Now, coming over to this one. Now, you have your hip formula as the formula we're going to use over 4. Now, this hip formula means that whatever hip measurement your customer has, use the person's hips to derive the crouch. But then, this formula, I still have some concerns which I normally do before I proceed. Now, if the person's length is not up to 39 and above, I don't use the person's total hip, the answer I got. What am I trying to say? I have a customer A, and customer B, right? Now, let's assume that hips of customer A is 40, right? And hips of customer B is still 40, right? And then their trouser length, let's assume the length is this one is, let's say, 41, and this other one is 37. So now this formula is trying to tell us that customer A and customer B, they have the same hips but different trouser lengths, meaning whatever you are going to use for the customer A's hip is not the same thing you're going to use for customer B's hip, in as much as they have the same hip measurements. Now, you are going to divide the hips by 4, as the formula states. Hip by that's 40 over 4, that's you have 10. Now, customer A, we have 10 inches crouch for the person's crouch, but customer B, we have hips measurements over 4 minus half. Do you understand? Meaning 40 over 4 minus half, which gives you 9.5. So half inch is the only inch you are going to use from any length of trouser that does not or that did not get up to 39 inches and above. So since he had 37 inches, you have to minus half. Now, what happens when the customer has excess of 39? You still retain the total value he has for the crouch. Now, having said that, let's now proceed to the other aspects. Now, on proceeding, then you also need to know different components of this trouser. Now, there are many, they're up to 12, but then I think it will be much better when we are drafting them, when we are cutting them. I will state their names and state their formulas and state their measurements and state how you can best cut all of this, right? So I will do this and then I will get back to us. All right, so now after pushing the components of trouser to the cutting stage, now I want us to learn or know types of trouser drafting, right? Types of trousers, right? Now this might not be conventionally recognized types, but then these are the few names or the ones I use. the one I call the best fits, the one I call the straight line, straight line, and the one I call the plumb line method, right? So now it will be of interest for us to learn these two here, right? This one is close to this plumb line. So we are going to focus on the straight line method and the plumb line. So in my subsequent videos, I'll be posting from today. Now I will be making more videos on trousers and I'll be posting this plumb line. So now, having known the types of trousers, these are the three basic types you can work with, or two rather. Now we are going to go over to the cutting stage. Please kindly click on the subscribe button on my channel, and then I have made the playlist on the channel so that I can start from scratch. Now this might be one of the first videos I'll be making on trouser. Now I will post it, and then it will be more useful to us if you keep watching and learning more as we progress. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video of drafting of the trouser proper. Thank you.